With football season upon us now, there's a lot happening in the news, so be sure to subscribe to my other channel, JG9 News, where I give you up-to-the-minute. Every sportsbook has different odds, and through OddsJam's algorithm, they track the odds of every sportsbook up to the second to let you know which games to play so that you always come out on top and are guaranteed to make money. As an example, this Sunday, I went to the arbitrage calculator that OddsJam has and saw that over at Bet365, they had minus 125 odds on the Lions to score over 1.5 touchdowns in the first half, while at Hard Rock, they have plus 145 odds on the Lions to score under 1.5 touchdowns in the first half. OddsJam tells you exactly what to bet so that you are guaranteed to make money no matter what happens, because either the Lions will score multiple touchdowns in the first half or they won't. No matter what happens in the first half, whether the Lions put up 5 touchdowns or put up none, I am guaranteed to come out on top. It is that easy. And making it even easier is the fact that you don't even have to manually find these bets. OddsJam's tool makes everything one click away. And there are hundreds of bets like that every single day based on the sports books available in your area. If you know me, you know that I have a legal background, so I truly mean it when I say that with arbitrage betting and OddsJam's up-to-the-second calculator, you literally cannot lose and always come out ahead. It's not betting so much as it is math. If you sign up now using my promo code JG9, not only do you get a 7-day free trial, and not only does it help the channel out a lot, but you get 25% off your first month. Link in the description down below. So sign up for OddsJam today, where the odds will be in your favor. September 15, 2024. It's week 2 of the NFL season, and we find ourselves in Tennessee for the home opener between the New York Jets and the main team in our story, the Tennessee Titans. After a heartbreaking loss last week to the Chicago Bears, where they led 17-0 at one point, the Titans need a win here to avoid an 0-2 start and to avoid falling further and further off the pace in the AFC South race. Making the playoffs at 0-2 is never easy, and the Jets know that as well, seeing as they also entered this game with an 0-1 record. On paper, this feels like a game that could come down to the wire, meaning that every coaching decision will be critical, or at the very least, have a chance to be critical. As for what head coach Brian Callahan did in his home opener, it was something. It was definitely something. And speaking of something, if you want something to keep you informed about the weird and wacky history of the NFL, then you've come to the right place, especially during this football season, because we post every single day on this channel, and we go live just about every single day as well. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. For the Titans, they find themselves down 24-17 after some second half heroics from Aaron Rodgers on the other side. Still, the Titans are not in the worst spot. They've got 3rd and goal with 29 seconds left and 2 timeouts. On one hand, with how little time they have, and the fact that they don't have all their timeouts, if they don't score here, the game is over. On the other hand, time isn't an issue for the Titans on offense. It's not as though they're going to run out of time on their quest to get to the end zone and potentially tie this thing up. It's a goal-to-go situation, so they're either getting in there within the next 2 plays, or they're not. 3rd down, and Will Levis does the one thing you cannot do in this spot, and that is take the sack. Alright, not good, but you've still got time for one more play. Just don't call timeout just yet, and take the clock down to the very end, and since this is the final play of the drive regardless, don't give the Jets a chance to get the ball back if you do score a touchdown here. Don't call your timeout too early for no reason, and don't...
Second charge timeout. Tennessee, 30-second timeout.
Of course. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan. Callahan is a new head coach, and on paper, he seemed like an extremely solid hire. I like the staff he built. I like what the Titans did this offseason, and if they can get the quarterback situation figured out, whatever that is, they're not far off from being able to compete, especially with that defensive line. But man, this timeout this early on made very little sense whatsoever. It didn't make a difference at the end of the day because the Titans got stopped on 4th down anyways. But still, it could have been absolutely massive and absolutely costly if the Titans did score. Because to say that this was a really stupid timeout to take at that juncture in the game would be putting it very lightly. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a timeout with 23 seconds left on 4th and goal is a really bad idea. And before I go any further, I want to stress that my issue is not with taking the timeout at all. Taking the timeout was the right decision. This was the biggest play of the game, and the clock was running. So you call timeout to talk things over and make sure everyone is situated, especially with that running clock, where if you don't call a timeout, everyone's got to get to the line and figure things out pretty quickly. You want to have the right play call in that spot, especially with a running clock, and especially when you only had 2 timeouts left. So if you gave the ball back, the game would be over since the Jets could just take a knee. This was not a situation where a coach called a timeout when he shouldn't have, and he should have saved it. And this was not a situation where a coach called a timeout too late and completely mismanaged the clock. But this is one of those weird situations where Brian Callahan called a timeout too early. Like, way too early. If this was 2nd and goal or 3rd and goal, different story. But this is 4th and goal. This is going to be, no matter what happens here, the final play of the drive. This is it. Either you find the end zone on this play, or you don't. But either way, the next time the ball is touched from the line of scrimmage, it's going to be with the Jets on the other side. Yes, there could be a penalty, I suppose. That could keep the drive alive for the Titans to give them an untimed down from the goal line, but at that point, you have the advantage. Without a penalty, this is it. So that raises the question. If this is the final play of the drive, no matter what, then why on earth would you want to potentially give the Jets a chance at touching the ball again? Why would you put the game in their hands for no reason whatsoever when you do not have to do that? Let's say you do what I would have done in that spot, and that is to call a timeout with 4 seconds left. If you don't score a touchdown, unfortunately, the game is over, and you lose. But if you do score a touchdown, guess what? Assuming you don't go for 2 at the end, you tie the ball game up. Now, if you call a timeout with 23 seconds left and you don't score a touchdown, unfortunately, the game is over and you lose. But if you do score a touchdown, guess what? Assuming you don't go for 2 at the end, you tie the ball game up. So that's the same exact best case scenario and the same exact worst case scenario where a touchdown gives you the tie and no touchdown gives you the loss. And you have 1 play to accomplish this feat from the exact same yard line. So what's the difference? Well, if you score the touchdown and you call a timeout with 4 seconds left, the Jets have no time left. It's the end of regulation. If you score the touchdown and you call the timeout with 23 seconds left, however, the Jets will have 18 seconds left. And with Greg Zuerlein, who's got a notoriously strong leg on the other side for New York, the Jets, with Aaron Rodgers, as in a future Hall of Fame quarterback who is known for his work in 2-minute situations and might be one of the best of all time at this, have 18 seconds left to get about 25 yards, assuming a touchback. Oh, and the Jets have a timeout during all of that too, so they can use the middle of the field. This is not some insane scenario. If Aaron Rodgers has the ball in his hands, he needs to get 25 yards to try a field goal at the end of the game, and he's got a timeout and the whole field to work with, I like my odds. So if you didn't have to give the Jets the ball back with any time left on the clock, why would you do that? Why would you even chance it? I guess one possible explanation, as baffling as it would be, is if you say, okay, if we score a touchdown, we're not playing for overtime. We're going for 2, and we're going to try and win the game right here. And if we don't get it, we want to give ourselves some wiggle room for error. But come on, if that's the explanation you're rolling with, then it's a really bad explanation. If that's how you try to justify this timeout, it makes no sense. You're telling me that you're preparing yourself for success with a touchdown, but then preparing for failure on the 2 and think that if you can't get a 2-yard play where you have a better than 50% chance at converting based on the odds, you're going to recover an onside kick, which is almost impossible in today's NFL, and then go another 25 yards for a field goal? You're thinking that many steps ahead for some reason? That's a baffling explanation if the reason you wanted to chance giving Aaron Rodgers the ball back after he was torching your defense in the second half is because you wanted to go for 2 and get an onside kick if you didn't get the 2, which again, an onside kick is really low percentage. This is the only, I mean it, the only possible explanation if you were going to go for 2. If you were going to kick the extra point, then there was no explanation. It's almost like this. Let's pretend that the Jets were up 24-22 in this spot. Let's hypothetically pretend that this was a field goal game, and that last play with 23 seconds left on the clock brought up 4th and goal. And let's assume for the purposes of this that the Jets had no timeouts left. There is no scenario, not one, where the Titans take the timeout with 23 seconds left and kick the field goal and give Aaron Rodgers and company the ball back with 18 seconds left and a chance to do something. You win the game by scoring more points than your opponent, and you get points on possessions. So there is no scenario where it makes sense to give the other team a possession when you do not have to do so. So why would this play be any different? Why would 24-22 be different than 24-17? Why would it happen here with Callahan be any different? You take the timeout with 4 seconds left, and you either score and don't let the Jets touch the ball again, or you don't. You take the timeout with 23 seconds left, and you either don't score, or you do score, and in the process, you give the Jets a really good chance to score themselves. If anything, it'd be crazy if the Jets didn't call timeout with 23 seconds left. It would have been a dumb decision on Robert Saleh's part to not at least give his guys a chance at potentially winning in regulation when the clock didn't matter whatsoever. For you to call a timeout yourself? For you to throw the Jets this lifeline? I've got nothing. Genuinely, positively, nothing. And after the game involving this team behind me right here in the Tennessee Titans, we never got an explanation afterwards as to why Brian Callahan called the timeout with 23 seconds left and not with a more reasonable time like 4 or 5 seconds left. We never got an answer for that. No one asked the question, and to be fair, I get why no one asked the question because at the end of the day, it didn't matter and there were more pressing issues at hand. If it mattered at the end, then yes, I think someone would have asked the question, but because it didn't matter, we did not get an answer. So this will be one of life's greatest mysteries, at least for the time being. Still, even though it didn't matter at the end because the Titans got stopped on 4th down, it made no sense whatsoever. Why on earth you would take that chance and potentially give it back to Aaron Rodgers with time on the clock when you did not have to, I have no clue. It makes about as much sense as a Will Levis pass on 3rd down with a man in his face. Because holy cow, he's got the football IQ of 0. So what do we learn from all of this? If you have 2 options, and both options give you the same exact number of plays and attempts to do something, but one option doesn't give the other team a chance to respond, and the other option does, then take the option that doesn't give the other team a chance to respond. If you are on the final play of the drive no matter what, and you can hold the ball for the last play, then do it, especially when you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you're willing to keep an unnecessarily large amount of time on the clock in order to give the other team a chance to do something afterwards, especially when said team has a Hall of Fame quarterback known for pulling off magic like this, then you better be willing to pay the price. Whether you realize it or not, you better be willing to pay the price. And if you don't know how to manage your timeouts in your second game as a head coach, then maybe you should figure it out sooner rather than later. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to cgiulianihpu.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.